Looking through newspapers, searching the internet, and hitting the pavement. We've done the work to help you get ready for your next job. We've got the experts, we've got the latest tips, and we got you. This is Job Hunt Cleveland. Hi, and welcome to Job Hunt Cleveland. I'm Jackie O. For the next half hour, we'll try to help you not only find and get a job that you love, but we'll also help you discover ways to find satisfaction and fulfillment in your current career. Joining me now is Georgiana Rhoda, Director of Recruiting at Hunter International Recruiting. Georgiana, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you here. You look fantastic in that bright pink. And we're going to be talking all about how to find and help people get jobs. And this is right in your territory of what you do. So tell us some more about what do you do in your job role?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me, Jackie. I'm really excited to be here. So, what I get to do in my position every day is connect job seekers with opportunities that they didn't know even would be available to them. So, I work with Hunter International, and we're a nationwide staffing firm. I lead a team of technical recruiters to help candidates find their dream job.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been with Hunter International for going on 11 years now.
That's over a decade already. And I'm
Yeah.
actually curious. Yeah, I'm curious about the title, Hunter International. So do you do national and international or?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, a lot of our clients reach not only here nationally, but also internationally, working with different Fortune 100 companies throughout the world. Their reach is more global than ever. So, we do work with a lot of international companies as well.
So tell us some more. What does a recruiter do exactly?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think a really important one because I know oftentimes when we reach out to candidates, they wonder what can a recruiter do to help them. So what we do is meet with clients or different hiring managers and they tell us about their needs. And then we go out into the marketplace and source for candidates that would be a fit for those opportunities. So that can look a lot of different ways, either by reaching out by email or text message or even a phone call to candidates that either are active in our network or are posting their resumes on job boards to be found.
And what kind of qualities do you look for in candidates, or what are companies looking for in candidates these days?
I think that really depends a lot on the type of opportunity it is. I think, as a baseline, people are looking for candidates that are really excited and passionate about the work that they're pursuing. It's really important on a resume to include all the keywords of any important tools that you've used because hiring managers are oftentimes reviewing those as well. But ultimately, I think looking for someone that has a very strong career path and journey and is able to communicate that to a hiring manager as to what advantages they can bring to the company.
And then when a job seeker or a potential candidate comes to you, how does it work? Does the job seeker pay you, or does a company pay you, or does it vary a little bit?
That's a great question, too. That's, I think, a big myth. So I would tell job seekers if any recruiter is asking them for money, that's probably not someone you want to work with. So we're paid by our hiring managers and clients, hiring companies that we work with. So we would never ask that a job seeker pay us to help them. We're there as a resource to support them through the hiring process, not only just submitting them over for a resume, or for an opportunity, but preparing them for an interview, moving them through the offer phase, helping them negotiate. We're really a resource for them, but there's no fee for a candidate to work with a recruiter.
So, what are the trends these days in the job market? Like, where is the most need for jobs these days?
Sure. I think the most need for jobs we've seen is certainly in digital spaces. And that can mean things in a lot of different areas. So we're a STEM focused staffing firm. So we work primarily in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But we've seen areas like marketing become much more digitally focused. So I think it's important for job seekers to think about mega trends and maybe really where are the companies going to? And that's digital in many, many areas, from marketing to manufacturing.
That is so true. Can you tell us some more about maybe some of the specific job roles within those sectors? Like, are there specific ones that are really in need right now, or do any come to mind?
Sure. I think today, right now, where we sit, there's a huge need for engineers, folks that like to work with their hands in a manufacturing capacity or industrial capacity. But I think, beyond that, as we talk about job titles that are going to be important, so maybe not right now, but within the next year or so, would be automation. Many, many companies are moving their workforce from hourly primarily to salaried. And that means that more and more job functions will be digital and automated, meaning a huge need for automation engineers and folks that can really help that digital transformation happen. So, IT, programming, and automation is certainly where things are moving towards. And then, if I think about this from an operational perspective, certainly transforming accounting and finance operations to meet the changing needs in manufacturing. And then, as well, for marketing, we've seen that marketing has moved very heavily into a digital space. So, search engine optimization and other tools for social media, even marketing, have become more and more important.
That is a really great response. So yeah, that was perfect. In this space, like with COVID and all the remote work that's
Sure.
happening right now, has that changed the recruitment arena at all, or are things a little bit different now, or are they the same, or?
Well, obviously, everyone's painfully aware the need for talent is different than it's ever been, and maybe that's due to COVID, or maybe it was going to happen anyway. I think recruiting changed a lot because our clients' needs changed significantly. Meaning, folks were working remotely more than ever. So, what does that mean? You're probably a lot more able to answer a phone when you're at home than if you're in your office to talk about a new opportunity, which I think led to this great resignation you hear so much about, because folks were home and just able to think about their role and had the time and the ability to pursue other opportunities. So that certainly impacted the job market that we're in today. As far as our recruitment, that's also, I think, gone more digital, and we're meeting candidates where they are in the marketplace. So, whereas before we would maybe pick up the phone and call someone, now with iPhones and all the digital filters, you may not even receive that call. So, really, our space has moved a lot more towards text messaging or really scheduling time to talk with someone at a time that's convenient to them. So, we use a lot of different automated tools in order to do that.
So, what are the top qualities that candidates need to have or need to possess to move forward in a career that they love?
I think a couple of things. So, if you're looking for a new role, I think what you cannot discount is excitement, enthusiasm for the new opportunity. Oftentimes, we'll have a candidate meet with a hiring manager, and they'll say, they were really good on paper, but it was hard to tell if they even wanted this job in the interview. And companies
Mm.
want more and more to hear that excitement and enthusiasm for the company mission and their goals and vision. And I think what's just really important to be successful right now is to be passionate and do something that you're passionate about, because if you're doing something you love, it definitely shows.
Absolutely. So, when there's a job seeker out there who is maybe going to an employer's website or a corporate website and they're checking out a job posting, or maybe even on LinkedIn, and they see the whole list of requirements that an employer wants, whether it's a wish list or whether it's actual qualities they need to possess or education, What's your advice to the job seeker on whether or not to apply? I mean, do they need to have every single bullet point on there, or can they just go ahead and go for it?
Well, I would say it depends, but go for it. Oftentimes, hiring managers are putting everything that they could ever possibly want in that list. And so I think the 80-20 rule is really important. If you have 80% of the skills, I think go ahead and it can't hurt to submit your resume over. I do think this is the value, though, of working with a recruiter at times. Corporate talent acquisition folks are just bombarded through their resume or LinkedIn from so many resumes coming into their portals. And so oftentimes working with a recruiter can help set you apart from the hundreds of other resumes that come through as a direct line to the hiring manager. So we can really say to that hiring manager, this candidate has these 10 qualifications, but maybe they're lacking these two. I know you mentioned these two are something you'd be willing to train on. So I think this could be a really great candidate for you to look at.
So, what changes have you seen in hiring managers over the years? I mean, are they any different now than they were 2 years ago, maybe?
I think so. I think, when we talk about a work history or job history, finding people that maybe have been in a position for over a decade is pretty rare these days. And before that was something hiring managers really focused on. I won't discount that that's still something that's really important to a lot of hiring managers because that just shows someone's dedication to a role. They're becoming a little bit more flexible and open to thinking about candidates that maybe have moved around a little bit or have made those changes. I think training as well, where we had seen maybe in instances where hiring managers, as you mentioned, were looking for every qualification possible on that list. They've opened up their eyes to think, what do we really need and what are we willing to train someone to be able to do?
So, Georgiana, we have about 45 seconds left, but we do want to ask you, do you have any other tips that you just want to give job seekers today that we didn't hit on yet?
I would say don't be scared to give something new a shot. Just because you haven't done something your entire career, it's worth still pursuing. So find your passion and you cannot go wrong.
That is fantastic advice. We were actually just talking about that a little bit earlier in another segment, and you are absolutely right about that. You can nail it or hit the bullet or the bullseye when you do find your passion. So, thank you so much for joining us today, Georgiana. We really enjoyed having you on the show today and enjoyed all of your input.
Thanks, Jackie. It was really wonderful to join you.
Joining me now is Mark Gonska, six-figure career coach right here in the Cleveland area. Mark, welcome to the show. It's always a pleasure to have you here and to just hear all of your insights and your wisdom. You have so much to share and so much to offer. And today we're going to be talking some more about advancing in your career. So this is kind of the scenario where you already have a seat at the table and now maybe you just want a better one. And I really love something that you said the other day on the phone, and that is that you said identity plays a really huge role in this process. So tell us some more. Why is identity important when you want to advance your career?
Jackie, it's hard to advance if you're invisible. And there's a statement that we've all heard that we only have one chance to make a good first impression. But what about when you've been there for a while? What about when you're interested in advancing? And what about a world that we live in now where maybe 40%, 60%, maybe 100% of the time that we're working, we're not in physical contact with anybody on our team? That can lead to a lot of invisibility and a total loss of identity. When you're not there, you're not quite as relevant.
Wow, that's a really good point. I never even thought of it that way. So, kind of in a virtual world, then, how can you maintain some sort of sense of identity or connection?
Great question. And one of the things that we have to be mindful of is that the way things used to work a few years ago when we were all perhaps going to an office or spending time with our bosses, they're different now. And while the hybrid setup has some benefits to it, it also has some dangers. So be particularly interested in raising your hand to help out with some key projects. Volunteer. Let your boss know that you are the type of person who wants to take on additional responsibility, add additional value. And yeah, there's some high profile projects, but be open to helping with the little things too. Maybe meeting setup or logistics, things that aren't in your job specifications, but things that position you as somebody who really plays with the rest of the team very, very well.
And so, in this virtual world or in the Zoom world that we're living in right now, even if we are able to capture our sense of identity, how is this going to propel us forward in our career advancement?
Uh, how can we propel ourselves forward? Well, part of it happens between our ears, and that is setting critical goals, not being on autopilot, not just assuming that if we do a job well, we'll be recognized, we'll be promoted, and everything will be good. So we really want to focus on being intentional. And I think the hybrid workforce or hybrid nature of our workforce today means that that intention is more important than ever.
I really like that word intentional. I think that is super important, in this day and age and what we're doing right now. So, let's say when you do get to the job that you want or your dream job and you have your foot in the door and now you're working with a team and there's a lot of team dynamics or personality dynamics to navigate. So, how do we do that?
Well, the most important person on the team is the champion or the boss. She's got to know what your goals, what your aspirations are for the future. And those have to be clear. And you need some feedback from the boss that says, am I on the right track? Can I calibrate? Can I get where I want to go with the responsibilities as I'm walking them out in this job? If not, what else do I need to do? Taking a look at your goals. We've perhaps heard of SMART goals. Are our goals specific? Are they measurable? Are they realistic? Are they time bound? So if I'm interested, if I said one of my goals is someday I'm going to lose weight, well, is that specific? Nope. Measurable? No. Is it realistic? Perhaps, but there's no time bound. So what day is someday where I'm going to get my goals accomplished in the company, and what day is someday when I'm going to get better aligned with the team? Your question was, how can I get better aligned with the team of people that I'm working with? And I think part of that is doing an intense amount of listening. Listening, engaging. It's so easy on a Zoom call to be zooming out. And we've got to intentionally zoom in heavier. And we've got to ask questions. Yeah, there's such thing as active zooming. Because if somebody else is talking and I'm actually leaning forward, I'm giving the nonverbals that I'm really interested, that I'm engaged, and maybe I'm alive. Imagine that. Then I can be perceived differently as an active player on the team.
Yes, I totally know what you mean. So, all right, so let's talk a little bit about if you are a manager or you are a team leader. How do you manage up and manage down?
One of the things I recommend is the concept of appreciative inquiry. And there's
Ooh.
a gentleman right here in Northeast Ohio, Dr. David Cooperrider, who pioneered this appreciative inquiry. And that's essentially with the theory that people are going to be more apt to be open in their communication if you ask them to tell something great that they've done, as opposed to finding fault, problems, issues, or headaches. So, appreciative inquiry says, I need to learn something about this. Tell me about a time when things were really going well here at the company, and what were you doing that made you such a rock star? Often people are much more open to telling about their successes. And when you're managing up and asking your boss that, that's a good thing. When you're working laterally and talking to peers, tell me more about what you do here that's made this place run so well. And being open to the fact that you want to learn more, you do want to progress in your career, and you can't do it as the Lone Ranger. You need their help. And you like some of the tribal knowledge that they've gained, perhaps in a longer tenure than you've had at the company.
Yeah, so I am familiar with Dr. Cooper Ryder, and that gets into the whole emotional intelligence area at Case Western and the Weatherhead School of Business
Mhm.
or Management. Um, so what if things are going well though, for you personally or in your career, and you're thinking maybe it's time to leave the company and go elsewhere or go to a different job? How do you handle that?
Probably the first thing you should do is call an excellent career coach and get your feet on the ground with a very clear and executable plan. So there's three things that I would recommend if you're deciding to leave. Number one would be having a crystal clear focus on what you want to do next and where you want to do it. Making a career move is a project, and no project's likely to be successful unless you have a clear picture of what you want the outcome to be. And that's something that you have to define. The reason you have to define it is the second part. If I know where I want to go career wise, the second thing for me to clarify is who can help me get there. Who are the people who can accelerate this process? Well, if I don't know where I'm going or I can't articulate it, they probably can't help me get there either. So if I know where I want to go, who I would like to talk to, the third thing really is what to say. And that is asking great questions about that vertical market that relate to the topic, relate to the type of role, relate to the industry segment that I'm targeting.
So, Mark, what if things are not going well and we need an exit strategy? What do we do then?
Well, uh, that happens. And the question is, do I raise my hand and say, I can't take it anymore, I'm out of here? Or do I say the best strategy for me is to build a second home while I'm on the payroll at my current company? Well, it's easier to say than it is to do. But if I can work proactively, Jackie, that means I'm building and nurturing my network at all times. And I'm talking with business leaders at all times. And I'm talking with thought leaders and working through my knowledge of where potential jobs are that I'm interested in and who the players are in that space. I really have to consider doing that all the time and never be complacent that, hey, I've got a paycheck today. It's going to last forever because statistically it won't.
hmm So we have only about a minute and a half left, but one question that I did want to get to is, all right, what if you're somebody who really doesn't know what they want or doesn't have a career target in mind? How do you help them or how do you help them define that?
We'll look at three general categories. Number one, the skills that they've learned how to do. And underneath that is their innate abilities, the way they're wired. Second is what are their passions and interests, the things they get up in the morning and they love to do? And then third, what's their favorites, elements for the culture of the environment that they like to work in? We look at those three things and then the intersection of where you can find those in the marketplace.
That's fantastic information. Mark, thank you so much for joining us again today. We really enjoyed having you here as always, and we look forward to hosting you again on the show for future knowledge.
Thanks so much, Jackie. Had a great time.
Finding a job and being happy in your career can at times be challenging, but we hope the information that we presented on our show can help put you on the path to success. Thanks for joining us on Job Hunt Cleveland. I'm Jackie O.